Hello and welcome to lesson 5 of Jasperactive. This one, like it says, viewing and printing workbooks. I apologize for the sounds in the background if you can hear things. They're moving and throwing a bunch of stuff out across the street. This one here, a couple little tricky spots, yeah, but not too bad. A couple things that I would just say sort of from the outset is that when you try to print out a Excel worksheet, the worst thing is that you end up, maybe it's, I don't know how to say it, maybe 10 pages long, but there's just one column that's sitting on another page. And so instead of printing 10 pages, it ends up printing 20 pages. And there's a page with just sort of one column of data, which in retrospect, you're like, oh, I wish I had shrunk it a little bit to make it fit. And so that's sort of what this goes over. It's really just helping you sort of print things out. The other thing that it does too that's very useful is that second one I think is very useful, freezing the panes. Because as you sort of go down and you're looking through your data and you could have hundreds if not thousands of lines, if the titles are just at the top, then you sort of you start to forget what the titles are when you're looking at, row 500 and you're like, oh, what was the third column over? If you freeze the panes, which this gets into, then that makes it, you've got it already on the screen. So there's a few useful things. Creating It's going to jump into that for a second. Creating and arranging worksheet windows. You can actually split it up. I never knew that you could do this. You could actually split up your window. No problems. Like I said, freezing panes is also useful. It's kind of unusual where you have to place it. You kind of have to place it below the column and to the right of the row that you're interested in. You'll see that when you do it. Changing the zoom, pretty straightforward. Changing workbook views. Like I said, that's sort of useful where the page breaks are to try to prevent you from having wasting that paper, and so that goes into setting up the page breaks as well. Again, page setup options, how to print it. It's just sort of, I guess the benefit there is, knowing the difference between legal size paper, which is just a bit longer. 8.5 by 11 is letter paper. 8.5 by 14, so basically an extra 3 inches, is legal sized paper. So it sort of shows you how to set that up. Pretty straightforward. What's this one here? Text group. So I think in the page setup, yes, page setup options, I think. One of these ones down here, at least, when I was doing in Excel, I couldn't really find it too easily. It said in the Insert tab, and I was looking all over for it. Where was it here? Text box, equation. Now this has changed a little bit. And the reason why it's having trouble is now it looks different because there's the header and footer right there. I mean, one of the big issues, I think, is that as you shrink things down, right, some of these become smaller. So you can just see right there, the text one got compressed, whereas I put into full view, there's the header and footer just standing out. So that was a little bit, I couldn't find it because I'm used to seeing header and footer. But as you bring things in, right, things sort of disappear. So you always have to be a little bit careful. Show tabs and commands, just because of the size or the width of your screen, right? So here I can see header and footer right away, but like I said, if I just bring that in a little bit, things disappear, and you just have to sometimes find it. Like I said, that text one, I just couldn't find. When you're doing those, so with the header and footer there, there is a bit of special lingo that goes into it, so you can always set up for the page numbers. One of the things they did with the header was putting in the name of the document, which is quite useful, so you know what it comes from. So like this, you can put it in there. And what you'll notice, so there it is, but if I click on it, it says "and file." So that is sort of, again, that programming language kind of that is in Excel, and it's saying that that's the file. It will always grab the file name, so it's not set to this permanently, it's set to, instead of quarterly income statement, it's set to whatever the file name is. Same thing if you do pages. So if we just go down here to the footer, page numbers kind of thing. So we go into the header footer design. Again, you can just these are typical ones. So if you put in page 1, okay, it takes a second for it to come up. But again, if I click on that, it's just got that page and then in square bracket the page, it will print that out. And it makes a good point that, it could be very easy for you to get all these pages mixed up. So it's good to put page numbers on there and also to know which file it came from. That's usually handy, especially if once you printed it out and maybe then someone says, oh, send me the file. Well, what file was it? Well, take a look at your piece of paper if you printed it out, and there it is. Oh, the last little bit was that I found a little tricky, and really these are, stepping you through, but I think it was printing this one in here, printing the range of cells. So let me just go back here and see if I can find it again. The idea was to, again, print, say, this column on all the pages, or sorry, that row, I guess, or this column on all the pages, imagining you had many other ones sort of sticking out. And I believe, and I figured it out, it's in page layout, and under print here, you can turn that on, and then if you go to sheet options, what was kind of weird is I was trying to figure out, well, how can I get this to print, sort of print the area, or here we are, rows to repeat at top, columns to repeat at left. Well, you can't go back and click. Oh, now I can. Well, that's interesting. It didn't seem to want to do that before, but what I did was I collapsed, and then I was able to sort of choose, so that row, and then you could open it back up again, and then the columns to repeat. So if I wanted this to repeat on each piece of paper, again, I could. It wasn't letting me do this before. That's interesting. But yeah, now I could seem to do that. Okay, but before I was finding I had to do this, and then click on it, and then reopening it. So if it says something about collapse and expanding, it's talking about these arrows here. All right. Yeah, so like I said, I found it pretty straightforward to get through it. I didn't really have any trouble, but go ahead and see what you can do. Oh, it says these are not turned on anymore. Oh well, I've done those all. I guess it just didn't refresh. Okay, anyways, yeah, see what you can do there, and good luck with that one.